When external loads are applied to an object, it'll cause the object to move and generally to accelerate. But if the object is somehow held still, then instead forces will be applied to whatever method is holding that object and keeping it from moving. And we refer to those as unknown support reactions. They can be unknown forces or unknown moments. And I will address 4 types of unknown support reactions. The first type is a solid support. So we're giving the example of a bar here, and it's attached to a wall. And we're not going to address how it's attached, but we'll refer to the solid support, or we indicate it by doing these cross-hatched lines. So now what happens is if you apply forces and try to move this end at the back where those top crosshatches are, keep it from moving. So these prevent motions in all directions, and we're focused here on 2 dimensions. And so in 2 dimensions, this will keep it from moving up and down. And we always define our unknown support reactions in the positive direction. And so that's upward for the y direction, and we'll refer to that then as a force in a y direction. And we'll put a crosshatch on it to remind us that this is an unknown support reaction and not a prescribed force that's being applied. Similarly, there will be a force in the x direction that's unknown. So if we were to push or pull on that bar, there'd be a force there that would prevent it. And I should say we apply it in the positive direction, but it may have a negative value. So if it has a negative value, it means that that support reaction is preventing the bar from moving by pulling it down or pulling it to the left, because those are the negative directions. And then the last unknown support reaction is that there can be an unknown moment. We'll draw that unknown moment in the positive moment direction, which again is by the right-hand rule is curving the way your fingers would curve if you hold your right hand with your thumb pointing out of the page, which is the positive z direction. So I've written those sort of all along, but they're all applying right here. If I write them all there, they all kind of run into each other. So those are unknown support reactions. There's 3 of them, 2 forces and a moment for a solid support. Next, we'll look at a support reaction called a pin or a hinge. So again, we have a bar here, and this time we will indicate the support reaction by drawing a little triangle to point out that it's touching the bar at just one point. And then this is the pin can't move, so that triangle can't move, and to remind us of that, we put the triangle like it's held by a solid support to the surface. And so this will prevent movement, again, in the x direction, and it'll prevent movement in the y direction, but it doesn't prevent rotation because it can rotate around that. And so that has 2 unknown support reactions. So this is 3 of them here. There's 2 of them here. The third type of support reaction is a cable. So again, we'll draw a bar, and this time we put a hole in this bar and we'll attach a little cable that comes through that hole. It's attached through it there and goes out in some direction. In this case, I'll do some additional drawing in red here, that it pulls on it and it prevents movement in this direction. So there's a force in that direction. And note that that force has an x and a y component, but from the geometry looking at this, we know the angle, and so it's only one unknown force. Now, what it doesn't prevent is movement is allowed here in this direction. And similarly, movement would be allowed to allow that bar to rotate, just like around here, this is allowed, right? It's not blocked, so there's no little crossbar there saying it's blocked. So the green ones here are allowed movements. And so that has one unknown support reaction. The fourth type of unknown support reaction is a roller. So a roller looks a lot like the hinge, or the pin or the hinge, except in this case, this thing is not fixed. There's still a surface there, but this thing is on little wheels that allow it to have an allowed sideways movement. It can move along in this direction. So because of that, the unknown support reactions up here are the F in the Y direction, force in the Y direction. But note that this also can allow that rotation. And so again, there is just one unknown support reaction. And for consistency here, I'm going back and changing the colors of these unknowns. So that's a summary. These are the three types, or the four types of unknown support reactions. And one of the jobs, as this video is part of a bioengineering course, one of our jobs is to interpret when different situations that arrive in bioengineering, one of these might apply to them. Like you might have microtubules with actin filaments attached that act like a cable, or are joints in bones. In orthopedic biomechanics often act as pins or hinges. And something that can slide along a surface without friction looks like a roller, even if there's nothing that's actually rolling. So there's, and then solid supports are all sorts of things that hold it firm. So these cartoons are not a picture of what this would look like in real life. They're a cartoon helping you remember the types of movements. You would translate from a real situation into diagrams that have these cartoons in them in order to remind yourself of the unknown support reactions.